Before we start off tonight's program, I would like to request everyone to please move a row ahead of them so the people who are coming later, they can have an easier time finding a spot. With that, I would like to request Brother Amir Ali to come up for the recitation of the Holy Quran. Let us welcome him with the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى. سنقرئك فلا تنسى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى. سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى. ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا. قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى. إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. سلام.
Thank you for that beautiful recitation. Let us have a loud salawat for Brother Amir Ali. Next, I would like to call upon Sister Zahra Al-Sahlani to come up for a poem. Let us welcome her with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. A cry from the ruins for Bibi Sakina. In the hush of night, beneath shattered stars, a child lay weeping behind prison bars. No cradle to rock her, no arms to embrace, just tears on the dust and pain on her face. She once wore the scent of Medina's breeze, laughed in the garden beneath shaded trees. Now silence surrounds her. Silence surrounds her, cold and profound, a princess in chains asleep on the ground. Her father, the moon of Karbala's field, had given his life but never would yield. She searched for his voice in every dream, but woke to the gardens and tyrants' scream. "Oh, Baba," she whispered, soft as a sigh, "why did you leave me? Why can't I die?" But even in grief, she stayed so brave, a flower that bloomed on the edge of the grave. When hunger and thirst tore through her soul, she clung to the name that had made her whole. Sukaina. Sukaina, the gem of the Prophet's line, endured every sorrow with strength divine. And when the angels descended that night to take her spirit in wings of light, the dungeon grew still. The chain turned to air, for heaven had called its rose for despair. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you for that poem. Let us have a loud salawat for Sister Zahra. Just a few groundkeeping rules and announcements before we call upon Sayyid. So, as you know, tonight is the second to last Majlis for the series. Tomorrow will be the final Majlis, inshallah. Please do not forget to donate as you head out of the conference room. Without your donations, none of these programs would have been possible. And if you see any empty spots in front of you, please move forward and make it easier for those who are going to be joining the majlis later, so it's easier for them to find a spot. Without further ado, I would like to call upon Sayyid Mohammed Hassan Alsherra to enlighten us with his wonderful words of wisdom. Let us welcome him with three loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد حبيب إله العالمين أبا القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أرواحنا لتراب مقدمه الفداء واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. My dear respected brothers and sisters, you are humbly requested to recite a Surah Al-Fatiha on the honor of those who have contributed for tonight's program and all the last nights as well, for the dignity and for your marhumeen and those, particularly the Ja'fari family, the Baqiri family, and all the mu'mineen and mu'minat, for those who have no one to remember them, from the ulama, from the shuhada, from your marhumeen and ours. Rahimallah man qara al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A second in honor of Sayyida al-Baneen. A third one if you can. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة غريب يا مظلوم عطشان كربلاء سيدي إن لم يجبك بدني عند استغاثتك أو لساني عند استنصارك فقد أجابك قلبي وسمعي وبصري ما خاب من تمسك بكم وأمنا من لجأ إليكم يا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. Altogether, Assalamu ala وعلى علي بن وعلى أولاد وعلى حسين خصوصا سيدي ومولاي قمر بني هاشم أبا الفضل العباس. السلام عليكم جميعا يا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. أما بعد، قال إمامنا صادق آل محمد البكاؤون خمسة هم آدم ويعقوب ويوسف وفاطمة بنت رسول الله وعلي بن الحسين سيد الساجدين. صدق مولانا وسيدنا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. صلوا على محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The hadith in question is narrated by Al-Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam. This hadith, he lays out 5 individuals who he described as al-bakka'un. And from the word al-bakka'un, this is to denote identity, not verb. Baki is verb in the sense that someone cries. But the crier is the one acting on the action and is now affiliated with the action itself. And this can only happen if you really engross yourself with a particular set of behavior. You can be called intangent with the act that you do. Someone addresses people's health issues, but once or twice is not enough to then take as an identity the doctor. You must be someone experienced with a whole resume. But someone who cries once or twice may not necessarily be called a baka, or someone that engages in beki. He does just cry, or she cries. But when you are labeled as the baka, and especially if you're divided into only one of 5, that highlights that your identity became part and parcel with that feature, shedding tears. And the first of these is Nabi Adam alayhi salam. He was known so much for how much he shed tears and how much he cried that Imam al-Sadiq says, you are one of 5 that has ever existed that can be labeled as of those who cried in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Adam alayhi salam, we know very easily that he cried excruciatingly, so much that he yearned for the presence and company of the divine, having gotten that glimpse when he was initially created. And it's not easy to get outside and leave Jannah when you are at a place where everything is perfect and everything is beautiful. You long for that same exciting environment, that joy, that pleasure. He would cry often, as the hadith mentions. One hadith says that Nabi Adam would choose the highest peak on earth to take as his residence. And that would be a point just because it would reflect for him the highest and closest in a physical aspect, not necessarily spiritual, but in a more symbolic manner to the heavens. So I want to be in a point where I want my entire being to remind me of Jannah. One tradition tells us, this is by the way, found in Uyun Akhbar al-Ridha of Imam Ali ibn Musa al-Ridha, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh. If you really love Imam al-Ridha, give another lot salawat. Allah. For the love of Rasulullah, a third one. Allah. Because we don't have much time out of all the Imams just to finish that, but inshallah later. Imam al-Ridha in Uyun Akhbar al-Ridha mentions that there are a couple valleys on earth that are considered holy. Wadi Sirin, the Sinai Peninsula Valley. Wadi Tuwa, the Tuwa region where Nabi Musa was told, فَخْلَعْنَا عَلَيْكَ إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى. And then he mentions a wadi called Wadi Sarandib. Who hears from India? If you're going to be really happy to hear this one. That there is a valley called Sarandib. He mentions it's in Al-Hind. In Al-Hind, well, I believe today is actually in Sri Lanka. I'm not sure. Is it? Sarandib. Sarandib is from where the English term came out, serendipity. And serendipitous is a form of ecstatic expression of beauty. And to lose words in regards to the beauty and the charm of what you're experiencing. Serendipity. From the term serendip, which is apparently an ancient language, that Imam al-Ridha mentions, by the way. If this was to come out from not a hadith, many people would criticize, you're just making this up. But we have a hadith that cites that for that particular instance, Nabi Adam, one opinion of the ulama cite this, and they say that he came down in this valley at first when he landed. One hadith tells us, okay, Prophet Adam may have landed in, let's say, that subcontinent area of India, let's say. Where does shaitan land? We have a hadith in the Bihar that tells us shaitan landed in Qom. Qom is supposed to be holy. But have you ever asked why it's called Qom? According to one hadith, when he had landed in that region, which would eventually become a hub of scholarship where Lady Ma'soom was buried, this is not a small matter, it's a big place with spiritual significance, that Jibreel, the angel, came and he said, Qum, get up. You are in a place that's too holy for someone like you to be in. Then Qum. And as a result, many ulama maintain that name came with him saying, get up. Qum, meaning to get up in the Arabic as well. Given all of this, one tradition tells us that Adam was in for a shock, that he had to leave the heavens. And so just before he leaves Jannatu Adnin, the gardens of Eden, different opinions give whether they're in earth or it's in Jannah, but it's a different level of Jannah, so on and so forth. He takes with him some of the stones just before he leaves, so that he has something to remind him of the heavens. And he would take these and keep them with him. He would tell his son later on, Sheath, Nabiullah Sheath, otherwise known as Seth in the Bible. Sheath, he says to him, when I die, bury me with these. He says, why? He says, can't you see I cry in the night and in the day? I yearn for Jannah. It's not easy to leave it. Which gives you an observation. Adam was in Jannah, left, and he cried his head off, literally, and he couldn't handle this. And he had to take from heaven, and he would always mourn. Rasulullah, in the event of Mi'raj, goes into Jannah, sees everything. And as he goes, he gets to a point where Jibreel says, I can't continue. فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى إِذْ هُوَ عِنْدَ سِدْرَةِ الْمُنْتَهَى. And he's like, Jibreel, you're giving me the grand heavenly tour. Why aren't you coming with me when we reach this point of heaven? He says, Ya Rasulullah, if I take another step, I would engulf in light. لَحْتَرَقْتُ بِالنُّورِ. Says, why? He says, you are at a spot where the glory of Allah is so manifest that only you can get this close, not even I can get closer. Is he where Allah is? Allah is not defined by space, but he is where the Subhan, the glory, the manifestation of the ma'rifah of Allah can only be appreciated by the Holy Prophet of Islam. And after that, he comes down and deals with Abu Lahab, Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab's wife. Abu Lahab's wife, you know what she's doing, that lady? She's burying thorns of plants, burying thorns under sand where she knew he would walk barefoot. And she's making his life a living hell on all aspects and to the full proportion possible. And one is hurtling insults, and the other is getting containers of blood when they slaughter a camel, and they throw on his back in the state of sujood, and they're laughing. And an 8-year-old Fatima to Zahra alayhi salam moves this off of her father and condemns them and rebukes them, and he leaves Jannah. One of our ulama maintains that it's not impressive Rasulullah getting into Jannah, it's how he left it and come back to see these riffraffs. If you're at a place, if you've gone to a vacation, and you know this is so nice and you don't want to leave, like what, for example, let's say you go to Karbala, Jannat Allah fi ardah, and it's that last moment where you're reading the Ziyarat al-Wada', Allahumma la taj'alahu akhir al-ahdi minni li ziyaratikum. And you're like, Ya Allah, is this my last ziyarah? Can it be the last one? It can really hit you. It can really affect you. In this context, the Prophet is in Jannah. And he's like, I have a mission to do. And he goes back and deals with Abu Sufyan and Abu Jahl and the family of Banu Umayyah and their riffraffs and Jolani, the grandfather, and all of these riffraffs. And those men, أسس أساس الظلم والجور على أهل البيت. Those who, he has to deal with them. He can stay if he likes. He can do whatever he wants. That's what's so impressive. Adam continues to cry and cry and cry. The sixth Imam of Ahlul Bayt is like, you're from the Baka'un from now on. Moving on, you reach a man who we all know very well, cried so much. وَأَسَفَا عَلَى يُوسُف فَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْحُزْنِ وَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ. And he was really in the deep state of mourning for Yusuf from min al-huzn, because he was hazeen, he was sad, and his eyes turned white, and he became blind, and he was in a state of despair and almost a state of distraught. Kalim, wal-kadhimin al-ghayz, those who hold back their emotions. This appears to tell us he released his emotions. The beautiful thing is, Nabi Yaqub is a prophet. He has ilm ladunni, that's intrinsic ilm that he has, and he has wahi, that ilm that God continues to give him, updates. So he knows the state of Yusuf. It's not like he doesn't know. But it hurts to know for a fact that you have 12 sons. 10 of them conspired against your favorite little boy. That hurts me. And they lied in front of me, and they brought the qamis of Yusuf, and they added colors, and they blamed the poor wolf. The wolf didn't do anything, such that the hadith says Nabi Yaqub goes out to the field, and he says, come, where's this wolf? Hadith says this, that the wolves come, and they're like, I'm going to confirm, I want to verify, did you, my boy? They said, you think we would kill a prophet of God? He's like, you're right. My sons would though. Have you seen that description where it shows like a wild animal and a human in the distance? And then the caption says, this is the most dangerous animal in existence. And next to him is a big lion. And next to him is a big shark. The dangerous animal is the human being. This insan is horrible. Insan is bloodthirsty. The animal is just designed to do what God created it to do. It doesn't have aql. But the worst is when those who have aql use their aql to go and harm all those with and without aql. And he comes and he says, oh wolves, testify, did you kill my boy? Like, why would we kill a prophet of God? That's why every single hujjah of Allah, the wild animals, and by the way, people can mock us for this. To you is your religion, to me is mine. I really don't care anymore. You said you're Ahlul Bayt, they're thrown in the dungeon, and a lion bows down. Yes, yes. If a crow can teach the killer Qabil how to bury his brother, you've not read the Quran. Allah dispatches his animals. Allah informs them. Wallah, the animal knows more than the insan these days, where he knows not to commit heinous crimes and acts of violence, where you see the imams thrown into cages, whether it's Imam al-Hadi, whether it's the imams of Ahlul Bayt, who, because the caliph wants to display them in a manner where they get destroyed, you find the animals like, look, you're wild, not me. I know who this person is. I know his right. You go into Masjid al-Kufa, there's a door called Babu al-Tha'ban, al-Thu'ban. You know what that means? There's a whole gate, an entrance called the Gate of the Snake. What happened? Well, you know very well the hadith is sahih. They would name this whole door and entrance to Masjid al-Kufa, al-Mu'azzam, where Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen is giving his speech in Masjid al-Kufa, and the Mu'mineen are like, Ya Abul Hassan, we're gonna just step to the side. Like, why? That. And there's a snake coming, slithering, and the Imam just stays and observes it. And it comes up, and everyone's probably just ran out, and the big thing comes up, and it's right here, and it appears, according to the hadith, to start whispering. You can imagine how the sound was. It was just whispering like this into the ear of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he nods and he speaks to it, and it leaves. And they say, Ya Abul Hassan, what's all this about? To which the Imam alayhi salam said that this snake was complaining to me that there is a person who's killing its babies for fun out there. And I want to make it clear that you are not to kill animals, even if they are animals that are just violent in their nature. Yesterday, didn't we mention the hadith of one riffraff burning an anthill? And Rasulullah says, Innaha umma ta'budullah. It's a nation that worships Allah. So you don't like it, that doesn't mean just kill. Well, some people, Wallah al-'aliyyul azim. I know I go on rants sometimes, but I just don't understand. So you're heartless. You just enjoy killing. It's a bug. It didn't bother you. Leave it alone. An animal, don't bother. These things, they complain to Allah on the Day of Judgment. Don't take it lightly. You have a cat, take care of it. That thing complains on the Day of Judgment. You have a dog, it's like, good for you. Take care of it. They testify, Yawm al-Qiyamah, Ya Allah, my owner mistreated me. But if you, inshallah, take care of those who have no one to have mercy to them, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, irham al-makhluq, yarhamkumul khaliq. Have mercy to the creation, the creator will have mercy to you. And on this wrap up with this one point, you find the second Imam of Ahlul Bayt beautifully demonstrating. And he's known as Kareem Ahlul Bayt for good reason, because his karam and generosity transcended both human and animal. He's breaking bread and he's feeding a dog. Who? Al-Imam al-Mujtaba. He's feeding a dog, and with the piece that he broke off, he eats the bread himself. And they say to him, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, is this befitting that you do? And some people, they're like, I will never be seen sharing food with a dog. That's impressive. You would do this? He says, Inni astahiya an akula wa dhu ruhin yanziru ilayh. I am ashamed, I'm a bit embarrassed actually, that I eat and a soul is staring at me. Salamullahi alayk ya Bina Amir al-Mu'mineen. He's like, I am just ashamed that I'm eating and a soul is staring at me. It's probably hungry. I break my bread. That's my Imam. You should be like, that's my Imam. Those are my leaders. Look at them. Mercy doesn't stop at humans. It goes on to the animal kingdom. These are all demonstrators of their infinite rahmah placed in these individuals. Nabi Yaqub says to the wolf, they're like, you think we're crazy? I know we're animals, but sometimes the animal has more reason than the insan. Yaqub, for this reason, he cries. I can't believe my sons would do this because of jealousy. And not that, they deliberately lied to me. He cried for 40 years. When you hear about the beautiful story, amazing. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. It's no surprise that this is revealed for Surah Yusuf's story. Because Nabi Yaqub, you hear about this, you think he's the one who cries. Move a little bit. Yusuf was also a bakka. Al-bakka'un khams. Adam, Yaqub. Yaqub, Yusuf. You think the dad's the one who cried. Just as the dad cried, Yusuf cried as well. But the difference is the dad turns blind in his eyes from how much he profusely cried. He says old age, etc. Yusuf is a bit younger. Yusuf cried as well. In fact, his administrators would tell him, they would say, Ya Aziza Misr, you cry so much. What's the deal here? He says, I cry that my dad is missing me. He's like, my brothers will be brothers, right? And he eventually forgives them. But I cry because my dad misses me. And they say to him, the prisoner, when he's in jail, says to him, Ya Yusuf, inni uhibbuka. Say, I just love you. He says, don't say that. He says, why? He's like, Ma asabani shar illa min al-hub. He's like, no evil has struck me except from love. I don't like that word, love. He says, why? He says, everyone who loved me got me in trouble. He says, my dad loved me so much, my brothers got jealous and threw me in a well. And what happened? The Pharaoh's wife, not the Pharaoh's wife, the king's wife, Zulaykha loved me so much that she accused me of something I didn't do and threw me in jail. So how about you stop telling me I love you? I'll just take a like, not a love. So love, every time someone says I love you, I get in trouble here. He's like, Inni uhibbuka. He's like, don't tell me that. Ma asabani sharrun illa min al-hub. So keep your love at a distance. Oh, subhanallah, wallah al-azim. There's a book, it's really nice. It's called Nahj al-Balagha. There's a divided by speeches, and then there's miscellaneous, and then there's sermons, and then there's letters. Go to miscellaneous. These are just beautiful pieces of pearls of hikam and wisdom. There's the last pearl of wisdom in miscellaneous is divided in four. The last one, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, احبب حبيبك هونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك يوما ما وأبغض بغيضك هونا ما عسى أن يكون حبيبك يوما ما. Love your lover. It's okay. I got people in my life. I can definitely say I love them. And if you say I love you to your fellow mu'min and mu'minah, the narration says this is a form of sadaqah. And so we're going to do an exercise. I would like for you all to look to your left, look to your right, and be like, I love you for the sake of Allah. You're getting sadaqah. There's a brother in the back. He's like, I will not turn right, but I'll turn left. Miskeen, I have the only one that know that. In this context, yalla, sallu ala Muhammad wa ala. Don't get carried away. Love your lover. النظر إلى وجه أخيك عبادة. القول إني أحبك عبادة. These are all forms of worship. We need more of this. Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen says, love your lover, but to a healthy extent. Why? Because once you get to love, what's above that? Psycho-obsessive? Yeah, that's true. Love your lover to a healthy extent. Why? Because maybe one day they become your enemy. And when you love someone so much, you tend to reveal all your critical information. You're vulnerable now. And one day they turn on you. Well, too bad. The someone I once shared so much now is at war with me. And I gave them everything they need to know about me that I wish my enemy wouldn't know now. So keep it at bay to a healthy extent. Maybe one day they become your enemy. But Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, look at his infinite wisdom. Says, hate your enemy. It's okay. Some people, they deserve the hate, maybe okay. But to a healthy extent. Why? Because maybe one day they become your lover. And you've poured out so much hate on someone. What, they can't do tawbah? What, they can't change? What, they don't have a heart? What, it wasn't just a phase? And now they want to come back into your life? And it's like, I would love that, but I said the most egregious thing right now to him. I hate them if they hate them for the sake of Allah. But maybe there's a time, give it some space, give it some room. Someone makes a mistake. Did they do kufr? Did they kill someone? Did they spill blood? So maybe they did these things. Oh, that's with them and Allah, and you have taklif to fulfill in that regard. You have a responsibility. But can someone have a past and move on? Yes, it's possible. Within reason, of course. There are those, it's wajib to hate, by the way. Complacency to murder and slaughter and all of that. And common sense is obvious here. But for those times where it's like, is it worth hating you this much? Because I do see a potential future, keep it at bay. Nabi Yusuf continues to cry and cry and cry because he misses his dad. That's such a beautiful reminder that a father-son relationship is one where it's like, if I'm far away from him, I begin to miss my family and I miss my dad. And you should always be in that reception and in their life and in their connection, such that he was called Ahad al-Bakka'un. And then it proceeded very well to, would imagine, would be another prophet, but it was the lady of all prophets, Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam. Such that her Becky and the buka that she would give and her tears that she spread and that poured profusely in a span, it happened only in a span, by the way, of either 25 days or 45 days or 75 days. And according to other traditions, at the very max, 45, 75, 95 days. After Rasulullah, she would spend those. According to the likely amount of reports in ahadith, it's probably 75 days after the passing of her father, Ar-Rasul al-A'zam. She spent those days crying until she became a martyr in the way of Allah. Those days, whether they're 45 or 75 or 95, were enough for her to be labeled as Ahad al-Bakka'un. From how much she cried, that it became a nuisance for some in Medina. They would tell her, "Oh, daughter of Rasulullah, while we respect you, your tears are bothering us." From how much she would spend her nights crying. I mean, it's not a loss that's you can never recover from. In tangent with all the calamity that she saw, and additionally to the usurpation of the haqq of Imam, she would cry. If that's not something you cry about, I don't know what's worth crying about. They said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's in the battle of Siffin, Ya Ali, lima la taghdib shaybatak. Why don't you dye your beard? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen had his beard at the age of like 62, 63, last years of his final life. He said, why don't you dye it? He says, Al-hinnatu farahun wa nahnu fi aza'in. Like dyeing my beard to bring back some youth, a look of youth to me, is a form of festivity. That's a type of joy. You know, you bring back youth and things like that. And I am in a state of aza. So what aza? He says, I am mourning my wife and my nafs. These two, that was like 30 something years ago. He's like, that's not enough. I'm still mourning that. And so he would continue to mourn and cry and cry. Sayyidah Zahra, she cried so much that the administration and that usurping government told her, look, you have to cry outside of Medina. And so Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen built for her what is called Baytul Ahzan, the house of sorrows, the house of tears, of misery. It was basically a tent, that's it. Outside of Medina, there was a tree. And on this tree, Imam Ali tied a rope and he made it into like a canopy, and she would just cry there. Until one day she comes to cry. In the day, she would go and mourn Rasulullah, Aza. Those who complain, why do you cry? I follow my mother Fatima Zahra. You can follow your other mothers. I'm going to follow my mother Fatima Zahra. Alayha salam. I'm on her path. I'm on her nahj. I'm on her way. That she goes in the day to cry, and at night she comes back to go to her home. She goes one day and they've cut down the tree. They didn't even let her cry. As the Sha'ar says, وَعَلَى الْبَكِي عَلَيْكَ مْنَعُونِ. And even for crying upon you, they prevented me, Ya Rasulullah. I can't even cry at this point, until she reached a point where Allah has decided that now she will continue her union with Rasulullah in person. But that because of this, she was called Ahad al-Bakka'un, the last of these. You know very well. Zainul Ibad, the one we honor and remember tonight. He, from how he cried and the way he cried. There were those who cried before him, but they were not given this title. His tears were special because Imam Zainul Abideen's tears were purposeful and meaningful. Because we said the other day that Imam saw in a society it lacked a couple features post the killing of Ahlul Bayt. And one of these, it became godless. Godlessness was common, so he instituted ad'iyat. Makarim al-Akhlaq, Sahib al-Sajjadiyya, Abi Hamza al-Thumali, Dua Tawbah of Imam Zainul Abideen. All of these ad'iyat is to address a godlessness phenomenon. But then, he saw a lack of humanity, so he did, as you all remember, Risalat al-Huquq. People need to figure out the rights of others in their lives as well. Then he saw one more thing. We reserve this for tonight. He saw a society, if it does not know how to cry purposefully, then it's going to fail miserably. A society that doesn't know how to shed a tear is one that has no potential to grow, because the hearts stay rigid until they're softened by tears. And this is not only spiritual, this is not only metaphysical, religious, this is actual facts of science. That a person sometimes, if they have built up emotion, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for your mental health. Sometimes it's okay to cry. It's all right to release some of that. It's built up. It's pressure. It's compounding. And I know it's you want to make a statement and you want to say, look, I'm not going to cry. I'll be strong. There's a time, one of our ulama, those who resisted oppression, they would say, look, in public, I'm not going to cry because I don't want to give the other enemy of Allah a victory. Look, we broke him. We broke them. These are our upright scholars who we mourn and we honor. But in private, I cry like any other human because earth to you, I'm an insan. I'm not a robot. I have a heart. The problem is you don't know how to cry because you're heartless. You're all made of metal. You're rusty. And I am human. But I will play the game properly, where I have a role here. But at the end of the day, tears are necessary, brothers and sisters. It's important. It's important for your own well-being. Sometimes let it out. But navigate how you want to let it out. That's perfectly fine. Some might say, Sayyidina al-Aziz, I hear about the fada'il of crying and I understand its importance. Al-Baki al-Hussein, kada. But I can't find myself or make myself cry. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to say it's okay, it's whatever, yalla. That's a subject of society, which I understand. But sometimes you have to reevaluate your spiritual connection. Sometimes if a person, does that mean someone who cries, their spiritual connection is always good? No, not necessarily. But we know a lot of that. So there are things such as alligator tears. There's a lot of stuff like this. But sensitivity levels are different, whatever. But one of the first places I would start and tell you, when I see them crying for the majalis, during the majalis and after the majalis, how come it's not hitting me? Because I'm also sad. I want to share. I read fada'il of al-Baki ala Imam al-Hussein, how Ahl al-Bayt did it. It was a sunnah. But it's not happening. Two things. First is maybe reassess a couple things. You can't expect to cry for the Ahl al-Bayt if they're not part of your life. I mean, I'm not going to cry for someone who is really not part and parcel of my every single day existence. I'm not going to come to a majlis and now expect, now let me cry for you. When the rest of the year outside of Muharram, they're not really involved. They tell you for good reason, whenever you drink, my Shia, they are those, when they come to drink water, they remember my tragedy. My Shia carry my values and principles. This is for purpose, and this is for meaning. And so one place is just reassess where you are spiritually. There's no shame in saying that and admitting that. Two, if even there, you're like, la, I know the haqq of Ahl al-Bayt, and it's just, I'm not seeing it happening. That's why this question was asked and answered by Al-Imam Ja'far ibn Mohammed al-Sadiq, salawatullah wa salamu alayh. In regards to the merit of crying for Imam al-Hussein, and if someone struggles in doing so. Ahl al-Bayt, they're universal, ya habibi. They know of our troubles, and they know sometimes our minuscule, small and minor difficulties. Someone might have a trouble crying. So Imam al-Sadiq, you're not a perfect religion unless you answer everything in life, and that's what we have. So Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, Man baka aw tabaka ala al-Hussein. Baka aw tabaka. Baka means he or she who cries for Imam al-Hussein. Tabaka means to make themselves like they cry. Some might say, is that faking it? In a way it is. But is that necessarily a form of deception? No, it's called akhlaq. You don't attend a funeral, even if it's by a non-Muslim, and everyone's crying and you're just like this, like that. It's called etiquette. It's called mannerism. It's called decorum, where someone at least lowers their head. Majlis al-Hussein, when you hear aza, lower the head. That's called tabaka. It's like, I'm not necessarily crying, but habibi, there's a degree of hurma. There's a sanctity here. And one thing to do is to not stand out while everyone is mourning, as if I'm displaying, yeah, I'm not going to mourn right now. Even though we know your heart is in the right place, but there's a form of expectation as far as the etiquette goes, if not just so much as this, lowering one's head. And that's why Al-Imam alayhi salam as-Sadiq says that Allahumma irham ad-dam'ata allati jarat rahmatan lana. Have mercy upon the tear that came down out of mercy for us, Ahl al-Bayt, ya Allah. Irham ad-dam'ata allati jarat rahmatan lana. It's just a tear. Have mercy on that tear. Imam then says, whoever makes 50 cry for Imam Hussein. He then lowers it. 20 cry. Makes 10 cry. 5 cry. And he comes down, whoever made one person cry for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, wajabat lahu al-Jannah. God has promised for them Jannah. In this context, he says, man baka aw tabaka. So even if you're just doing something like this, you're saying that I am in an atmosphere where I'm mourning something, the angels are crying. Let me at least just participate. If I was at a regular funeral, I would participate. What about the funeral of Sayyidul Shahadat, alayhi salam? And this, by the way, if you read any YouTube comment section, especially TikTok, especially Twitter, especially Instagram, because I'm on all of these things, you find we will get mocked. Look at the Shia, look. And they'll find the one poor uncle who's really crying, and they'll make fun and they'll place him, and he's in the heat of his emotions. Poor guy's crying about a random celebrity. He's crying about the grandson of Rasulullah. Yeah, it might look odd that the man's going like this and screaming and hitting his face. You're talking about someone whose heart's breaking hearing masa'ib of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Have some class. Have some... I get it, you don't have a heart. But for those who have broken hearts, let them do what they want. Because أنت قست قلبك بل أشد قسوة, as the Holy Quran says. They have قسوة القلب, a hardened heart. And a heart that's hardened cannot ever cry. I don't expect... you expect to see water flowing from a rock? بل أشد قسوة, as the Quran says. You're never going to see them cry. That's why these have an effect on us. That Imam Zainul Abideen said society needs this. Why? Because their hearts are rigid as such. One of the best ways to do so, and if you were here in our first few nights, is to have an expanded chest. Rabbi shrah li. That's it. Oh Allah, expand my chest so that I am broadened to encompass all that comes at my direction. It's an idiom and it's a beautiful one. وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّكَ يَضِيقُ صَدْرُكَ بِمَا يَقُولُونَ فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَكُنْ مِنَ السَّاجِدِينَ. It's like this. If you have a bathtub filled with water and you throw a bowling ball inside it, and the water is filled, it's filled up completely, the water will spill out. You'll make a massive difference in the degree and the volume. But if you expand it and you throw that bowling ball into the ocean, is anything going to happen? No. That's why it's important to make this dua. That Allahumma shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdata min lisani yafqahu qawli ya arhamar rahimin. And this is the dua of Nabi Musa alayhi salam. Musa, his father-in-law, was a heavy crier. Who's his father-in-law? Shu'aib. Nabi Shu'aib, aka Khatibul Anbiya, the orator of the prophets. Nabi Shu'aib cried. This is in the hadith. But he's not labeled as Ahad al-Baka'un for the hikmah of Allah here. He cried so much, but out of love, because tears can be joy and tears of happiness. Tears of sadness and tears of happiness. He cried tears of love. There's a third category. If you can cry this one, that's special. He cried so much because of how much he loved Allah that he also became blind. When he became blind, Allah returned his eyesight. So guess what Shu'aib did? He cried again. And then he became blind a second time. And Allah was like, okay, we'll heal you again. And then a third time. And Allah said to him, are you going to keep crying? He said, Ya Allah, how can I not cry for you? And he became blind again a third time. So Allah rewarded him. He said, O Shu'aib, my prophet, from how much you're displaying your love and loyalty and affection for me, I will bless you with a son-in-law like no other. In comes Musa. And Musa is going to go get some water. And he's among all these men who are pushing and fighting and pushing, trying to get water from that water hold. And he sees two ladies standing behind, like this, modestly, humbly. And he sees them. And he's like, why are these ladies? Oh, they're shy. And if they come and they're going to be pushed around a bunch of men. And so he helps them, and this is the famous incident where then he asks them if they need anything, and he gives them water, and then he goes and takes the water. Shu'aib sees him, and he's like, how about I employ you for 7 years? After 7, how about you marry my daughter, please? And he becomes Nabi Musa's father-in-law. Why? Because of how much he cried. You find in this juncture, by the way, don't let anyone hit you with mocking and ridiculing. Oh, you Shia, you cry. And they'll make memes. Allah, they'll make memes. And sometimes they're funny. And you're like, that's pretty good. I hate you, though. And they'll laugh at you, and they'll this. Akhi, it's a 12-year-old sitting on social media. Don't feel overwhelmed. I get these messages. Say, you know, everyone's making fun of us. It's hard to be a Shia out there. I'm like, Baba, one TikTok video shook your iman. It's okay, bro. It's all right. It can happen. It's like the people will make fun of us. But it's like, how come we don't see that? Because we're not like them. We don't see that on our side because we don't have to be like them. The way you win, according to Amir al-Mu'mineen, the best revenge is improving yourself. Make yourself better. Who cares? Let them do that. Don't come down to their level. Be more impressive than they are. It's all right. But the real question is, you should be asking them, why aren't they crying for Imam al-Hussein? Because the last I checked, the first to cry for Sayyid al-Shuhada wasn't his family. It was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma sallallahu. For polemical purposes, that's what I will say. But if you look at the world of hadith, we actually have narrations far before Rasulullah, from the Adam's time period and even before then, when his name was written on the Arsh. That Rasul, this is, by the way, narrated in Al-Mustadrak al-Sahihain by Al-Hakim al-Nayshaburi. These are the narrations that should have been included in Sahih Bukhari, but for some reason they wouldn't, and Muslim, based on the standard of how their criteria goes. The hadith is, قال Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he went in the event of Mi'raj and he saw the Arsh of Allah, and he saw the throne, and he said, I saw written on it, Al-Hussein, Misbahul Huda, wa Safinatul Najat. When he sees all of this, it tells you a big story. And the story is, this man is worth crying for even before he dies. That's why, if you read, for example, the same Mustadrak, based on the criteria, why wasn't it included? I have many guesses, but let's just assume the good here, that you find the hadith where Rasulullah says that Salama comes to him and she says, why do I see you cry? He says, I woke up from a very horrible dream. What did you dream, Ya Rasulullah? As you know, the dreams of the prophets are legitimate. Our dreams are nonsense. The Anbiya, they're legitimate dreams. He says, I saw in my dream my baby son getting slaughtered. And I inquired Jibreel, what's this all about? And they said that it's your ummah who will be responsible for this killing. But if you want, I can grab for you the turba of the land he will be killed on. This is before the slaughtering even happened. فَإِن شِئْتَ أَرَيْتُكَ مِنَ التُّرْبَةِ الَّتِي يُقْتَلُ بِهَا. So yes, goes to Karbala, Jibreel, where Imam Hussein is not even there. Imam Hussein is this 3-year-old boy walking around in the house of the Prophet probably. And he says, give me the land of when he will be killed on. And he takes it and he begins, the hadith says, to smell it. Don't let anyone mock the turba, by the way. This is the Prophet who inaugurated the turba of Abu Abdullah. When you do sujood on it, know its roots and its origins. And so he began to cry. Therefore, all of a sudden, now we know, crying for Imam Hussein is a sunnah that all Muslims should stand by. I give you one example. This is actually in Sahih Bukhari, where you found, for example, the Prophet in the expedition towards Tabuk, which is north of Medina. They stopped by what is called Mada'in Salih, where the events of Salih and the she-camel happened. You're familiar with the story. The camel of Salih, miracle, etc. And so they became thirsty as an army, because they're all traveling together, swords and armor. They get tired. Imagine that. Saudi Arabia, it's hot, sunny. May God bless all those who will go ziyarah. You're walking in Iraq, it's sunny, it's hot, arba'een. But imagine doing that with armor, okay? Become thirsty. And so they all stopped and they found a cave. Inside the cave, they found a pool of water, and it's fresh water. And so the Sahaba began taking their pails of water and filling it. Rasulullah said, stop. Put all that water back inside. There's a pool of water next to it. Not connected, but next to it. Take from there instead. This is in Sahih Bukhari, and we accept this hadith. The Sahaba said, why? It took us forever to get this water out. But it's just the same thing too. It's just right here, it's right next to each other. What's the big deal? He said, no, there's a difference. This one has no barakah, has no value. The one right next to it, this body of water, the she-camel, I want you to pay attention. The she-camel of Salih drunk from it about 1,000-something years prior. And what is the camel of Salih called in the Holy Quran? Ayah min Allah. It's a sign of God. So the she-camel of a prophet drank from a pool of water like over 1,000 years ago, and I want you not to be deprived of the barakah, the blessings of something that God called as a sign of Allah. Then I have to ask, what about the land that drank the blood of the biggest ayatullah, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein? If a she-camel drinks water. Thousands of years later, Prophet says, throw all the water away, take from that one. That's how important it is. What about the lamb that drank the blood of the family of Rasulullah, of the biggest ayah of Allah? Does that not have any blessings? Does that not have any barakah? Does that not have any spiritual significance? Of course it does. All of these, brothers and sisters, are evidence. Furthermore, anyone who dies, you cry. Don't let someone tell you, by the way, your limit is 3 days. This is not found in our aqidah. This is found in some cultures. But when culture overpasses religion, I say goodbye, Khudafis culture, and I come to my faith. Because my faith sets the boundaries. Culture is beautiful, if so long as it doesn't cross over Sharia, brothers and sisters. Whether we're talking weddings or we're talking funerals. In weddings, we were so sick of seeing all the haram, but now there's also funeral cultural stuff that's not right. When someone will tell you, it's been 3 days, after this, stop mourning. In what world do you want me to forget my mom on day 4 if she had passed away? Akhi, first of all, I have a heart, maybe you don't, but I'm going to keep mourning because this is important to me. Ahl al-Bayt likewise, such that Imam al-Sadiq says, كل جزع مكروه إلا الجزع على الحسين. All form of intense mourning is reprehensible except the mourning for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. In this context, brothers and sisters, there's a hadith. This one is very nice. It's found in Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And Ahmad ibn Hanbal records it as, this is a sahih hadith. The narrator is the wife of the Prophet. Aisha says, with the day he died, Rasulullah, we and the wives, we all began to mourn. And the line exactly she says is quite perplexing. وَقُمْتُ مَعَ النِّسَاءِ أَلْتَدِمُ وَأَضْرِبُ وَجْهِ. And I stood with all the women and I began to al-tadim. Al-tadim, wandubi, means to mourn. To say words of like, wa Muhammada, wa qatila, wa shahida, wa nabiya. You hear this in Muharram, wa Husayna, wa Atshana. That's called al-nadim. Al-tadimu, qimtu ma'an nisa. I with all the women. And I began to mourn, wa Muhammada, wa dhayata. That's what I was doing. And وَأَضْرِبُ وَجْهِ. Yaba, she's doing latam. And I began to hit my head like this. Ashu, when I do this, shirk, kafir, mushrik, a'udhu billah, astaghfirullah, haram, whatever, all the... I'm just following the sunnah of, you know who, I'm following. If she can do latam, it's halal for her, but it's haram for me. Yeah, because she lost Rasulullah. Akhi, I lost Rasulullah too. And I mourn. And okay, in that case, at least when Rasulullah Shahadat comes, you let me hit my head too. Don't say no, I'm following the sunnah. I'm following the teachings. I'm going to do al-tadim wa adribu wajhi as sahih narrated in your traditions. Don't make fun of my latam in this case. Don't come at me with this. If I do anything haram, I want you to hold me accountable. But my maraja have already set the boundaries. This is what you can do. This is what you can't do. This extent, that extent. I'm just following a sunnah of the wife of the Prophet. Can I not do that, bro? I want to mourn. I want to hit my head. I want to cry. But you harm yourself. Okay, if we do hurt ourselves, لا ضرر ولا ضرار, as Imam al-Sadiq says, قاعدة, principle, you cannot cause excessive harm. If I do, if it's involuntary, Allah will understand the fact that I did not intentionally seek out to cause harm. If things happen unintentionally, that happens. If things happen intentionally, I have to also draw the line right there. Because at the end of the day, I am a muqallid. I'm not here to do tashri'ah. I follow those who tell me this is what you can do. But when someone has a heart that's broken into pieces, they're given permission to express themselves within that frame of decency. People can mourn, people can hit their heads. Some might say, you Shia, come up with a bunch of stuff. Listen, if we're following a set of boundaries, so long as we're in that frame, that's all that matters. But they never did this at that time. They never drove cars, but they rode horses. They never went out and built multi-purpose facilities. But we know, that's allowed. Why? Because it's within a frame. Okay, this is within a spectrum and a frame. So long as, for example, did they have reenactments during the time of Ahlul Bayt, or they would all dress up on the day of Ghadir, for example, someone would raise someone's... They didn't do any of that. But that's not haram. Why? Because there's no haram being violated. It's within a frame of that which is allowed, and it falls in the category of sha'airullah, from the symbols of Allah subhanahu. It reminds you. It's called common sense at the same time. In this case, everything we do, by the way, right now you're going to hear someone screaming. You're going to hear someone hitting their chest. You might even see cultural inclusions as well, where there are certain banners. Might even see Zinjil, where you have the chains. So again, if we're not breaking any rules, any violations, anything haram, just because it doesn't float your boat, you have no right to come and say haram. If it's haram, point and give me a citation. If it's not your preference, it's not your preference. The way I dress, if I break any rules, you tell me. Otherwise, if you don't like the color, khalas, I don't care what you don't like. I care about what Allah wants, Azza wa Jal. In this case, latam, we have narrations, brothers and sisters. The first one is Aisha, she did latam. She's a good latama, mashallah. She's hitting her head. MashaAllah, good latam there. I have narrations from my imams, from my fourth imam, from my fifth imam, from my sixth imam. I even have a narration where Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam tells Du'bal bin Ali al-Khuza'i, Ya Du'bal, recite for me about Aba Abdullah. And he recites the very painful lines. أفاطم لو خلت الحسين مجدلا وقد مات عطشانا بشط فراتي إذن للطمت الخد فاطم عنده وأجريت دمع العين في الوجنات. Fatima, had you been in Karbala? If you had been, what is it? She was there? No. If you had been. So this is called creative license. Imam Rida is listening, by the way. It's his wajib to stop if there's something haram. He lets him do it. So that means creative license is allowed within. If you were in Karbala, you saw what happened, you would have smacked your own cheek. Imam Rida didn't say, stop, she would not have done that. Imam Rida, you know what he said? Nothing, because he fainted. They said, Du'bal, stop. Like, why? Our master's fainted. Stop, wait a minute. They woke him up with some water. Imam Rida awoke, and he says, Ya Du'bal, say that line one more time. He says, أفاطم لو خلت الحسين بكربلاء وقد مات عطشانا. But what hurts most is not the fact that he died. He died thirsty, but where? بشط فراتي. It's one thing to die thirsty. It's another thing to die when the water is just right there. Fatima, wallah, I imagine you would have smacked your own blessed cheeks as such. للطمت, you would have done latam. للطمت الخد فاطم عنده وأجريت دمع العين في الوجنات. Imam Rida faints a second time. And then they wake him up and he says, please, I want to hear it a third time. This, we get a hukum shari'i from it. Now, latam is sanctified, is allowed, it's permissible. Reading poetry. Imam al-Sadiq says to Abu Harun al-Makhfuf, he says to him, Ya Aba Harun, inshidni fil Husayn. Sahih hadith. Recite for me fil Husayn. He recites poetry. امرر على جسد الحسين وقل لأعظمه الزكية. If you walk by the body of Aba Abdullah, speak to his body that has been trampled by the A'waji horses. Speak to that body of Aba Abdullah. Imam al-Sadiq says, Ya Aba Harun, it's nice what you're saying, I love it. لكن انشدني كما تنشدون أنتم في الرقة أي في العراق. He says, I want your style. What does that mean now? Imams is saying there's a style in your culture, I like it. So that means cultural expressions, if it's unique and it's within a frame, it's allowed. We now have latam, we now have aza, we now have mercy, we now have salam. Everything you do you see how we have a citation for it? Don't let anyone tell you you're doing a bid'ah. I follow my imams of Ahl al-Bayt, and they have clearly showed us very obviously and openly. The one who I have never seen express the way he wants to cry is something beyond my understanding. None of us have cried like this. If someone comes and tells you, I cry day and night, you say, I've seen people who cry day and night. If someone comes and tells you, you cry, but you cry and you scream. وَارْحَمَ الصَّيْحَةَ الَّتِي كَانَتْ لَنَا. Imam Sadiq says, have mercy to the scream that was for us. There are those who scream, but I have never seen someone cry tears of blood. As mentioned in زيارة الناحية المقدسة, صاحب العصر والزمان is the biggest azadar. Don't let some comment or some ridicule or some nonsense tell you to stop something that the Imam of your time is doing. Imam of your time says, oh, I'm not going to cry. No. That's not enough. وَلِيَبْكِيَنَّ عَلَيْكَ بَدَلَ الدُّمُوعِ دَمَا. How I wish I could cry for you in place of my tears, blood. And he says, Ya Aba Abdullah, إِن لَمْ يُجِبْكَ بَدَنِي عند استغاثتك. My body physically was not there for you. أو لساني عند استنصارك, or my tongue and my voice wasn't there to aid your call when you said, ألا هل من ناصر ينصرنا, ألا هل من ذاب يذب على حرم رسول الله. Says time didn't allow me, Ya Hussein. My body wasn't there for you, nor was my tongue. So what then answered for you, Ya Aba Abdullah? This line from Sahib al-Zaman. Guys, this line is all you today. This line is all you. فَقَدْ أَجَابَكَ قَلْبِي. My heart answered for you though. I wish my body could have been there for you to fight and be severed just as it was for you. فداك أمي وأبي يا أبا عبد الله. But I wasn't allowed that. يا ليتنا كنا معكم. I wish I was. Sahib al-Zaman is crying so much. He says tears of blood rather. He says that didn't happen. But one thing I can tell you, Ya Hussein, أَقَدْ أَجَابَكَ. My heart answered for you. قَلْبِي وَسَمْعِي وَبَصَرِي. That my ears and my eyes, all of them testified to you, Ya Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. You know, Sahib al-Zaman, he's the only one who records for us what happened the moment Imam al-Hussein was killed. Just before him, Imam al-Sadiq says in Al-Kafi, فلما كان من أمر الحسين ما كان ضجت الملائكة إلى الله بالبكاء. When what happened, he doesn't even have the heart to say it. He says, when what happened to Imam al-Hussein happened, that's all he can say. The angels bursted in tears for Imam al-Hussein. Dhajja means bursting. Al-malaikatu. To who? Who do the angels have to go to console themselves? They go to none other than Allah. Dhajjat al-malaikatu ila Allahi bil-buka. The angels began to burst and cry to Allah. قائلا, saying, أيفعل هذا? This happens, Ya Allah. أيفعل هذا بالحسين صفيك وابن بنت نبيك. This happened, Ya Allah, to the one you chose and purified him a thorough purification, and to the son of the daughter of your prophet. So what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do to console the malaika? Everyone cries, everyone needs someone to help console them, even the angels. How did Allah console the malaika? فَأَقَامَ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ ظِلَّ الْقَائِمِ. Allah showed them just the shadow of Imam al-Mahdi. And then Allah said, بِهَذَا أَنْتَقِمُ لِهَذَا. With this I will avenge that one. With al-Mahdi, he will avenge the one that was slain in Karbala. As Dua Nudba says, أين الطالب بدم المقتول بكربلاء. Where is the one who will avenge the innocent blood spilled in Karbala? Karbala still hurts us, brothers and sisters. We will never recover. We can only find some peace when we see the Mahdi, the Muntaqim, come and avenge the blood of the 6-month-old, the blood of Akbar and Asghar and Qasim and Aba al-Fadl, and especially the blood of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Imam al-Mahdi in Ziyarat al-Nahiya al-Muqaddasa records for us what happened. He says, فَلَمَّا كَانَ قام ناعيك عند قبر جدك الرسول. The angel came to the grave of your grandfather رسول الله وقال يا رسول الله قتل صبتك وفتاك. Oh Rasulullah, I'm not sure if you know, but I want to inform you. He's talking to the grave, the angel. Your boy was killed in Karbala, Ya Rasulullah. He's giving azad, fana'a. He's doing na'i. Ya Rasulullah, your boy was killed in Karbala. And not just that. وَوَقَعَ الْمَحْظُورُ بِعِتْرَتِكَ وَذَوِيكَ وَسُبِيَتْ بَعْدَكَ ضَرَارِيكَ. And your family was taken captive, Ya Rasulullah. It's not just he was slaughtered. That's why Imam Zainul Abideen, he says that after asking him what was the worst of all of this, he said it 3 times, Asham, Asham, Asham. Come out, look at Sham today. Bibi Zainab is all alone right now. She's by herself. Wallah, it's from his wisdom. When he says Asham, he means it's not just now. If for forever you'll find that there are those who will never appreciate Ahlul Bayt, that she is just abandoned on the day of the misery of Al Muhammad, that they are taken captive. Yabna Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah. How did Rasulullah reply? Imam al-Mahdi says, فَانْزَعَجَ الرَّسُولُ. Rasulullah became depressed. وَبَكَى قَلْبُهُ الْمَهُولُ. And his heart began to cry. وَعَزَّاهُ بِكَ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالْأَنْبِيَاءُ. And the angels and the prophets all began to give him condolences. They said, عَظَّمَ اللَّهُ أَجْرَكَ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. For what happened to your son, we give you our condolences. وعزاه بك الملائكة والأنبياء وفجيت بعدك وفجاه بك الملائكة والأنبياء وحزنت عليك أمك الزهراء. And your mother Fatima الزهراء became distressed and began to cry. واختلف جنود الملائكة المقربين تعزي بك أباك أمير المؤمنين. And the angels and leagues of them all came to your dad Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, and they said to him, عظم الله لك الأجر يا أمير المؤمنين بقتل ابنك الحسين مقتول مسموم عطشان غريب بكربلاء. These are the malaika giving condolences to Ahl al-Kisa. Brothers and sisters, always remember how all the family of Ahl al-Bayt, the 5 Ahl al-Kisa, Sayyida Zahra alayhi salam, how she's crushed between the door and the wall. Abu Abdullah, his chest and ribs were crushed by the horse. Imam al-Hassan was poisoned by the poison of Ju'da. Abu Abdullah was poisoned by the arrow of Harmala. Everything they did. Imam Amir was struck on the 19th of Ramadan. Imam Hussein was struck 12 times in the battle of Karbala. Everything they did to the first 4, they did all to one, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And then what happens, as Sahib al-Zaman says, وَأُقِيمَتْ لَكَ الْمَآتِمْ فِي أَعْلَى عِلِّيِّينَ. Ma'tam al-Hussein was held for you in Jannah. وَلَطَمَتْ عَلَيْكَ الْحُورُ الْعِينَ. And the maidens of Jannah all begun to do latam for you. They all called out, Hussein, Ya Hussein. All together, Hussein. Again, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. 10 times all together. يا الله يا الله الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله. اللهم بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها اقضي حوائجنا. Brothers and sisters, we have been requested, as we are every night, to pray for those who are unwell, who are suffering. You might know those, you might be dealing with something, but there are those who have honestly requested that we remember them with the ayat أَمَّ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ 5 times for their swift healing, inshallah. So raise your hands and pray for those who are suffering in the world today or have no one to remember them. All together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّ ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب ويكشف السوء أمن بحق زين العابدين ويكشف السوء. One more time. أمن يجيب مضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. اللهم اكشف السوء والبلاء عنا يا الله. اللهم المرضى المنظورين شافي وعافهم يا الله. اللهم بحق مريض كربلاء، اللهم بحق زين العابدين، إلهنا وسيدنا ومولانا، أنت ثقتنا ورجاؤنا في كل شدة، فنسألك يا الله أن شافي جميع المرضى، إلهنا وسيدنا ومولانا وربنا. ارزقنا زيارة الحسين في الدنيا وشفاعته في الآخرة، إلهنا وسيدنا ومولانا. عجل ثم عجل لوليك الفرج. Ya Allah, we ask you on behalf of Imam Zainul Abideen, who couldn't attend Karbala and fight but had to see all the tragedy unfold in front of him, heal all those who are sick, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask you bihaqqi Imam Zainul Abideen to bless our marhumeen, bless our families, our grandparents, those who instilled the love of Muhammad and Al-Muhammad. Ya Allah, bless them, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask you to give us the tawfiq of becoming those who receive the shafa'ah of the Ahlul Bayt in the Akhirah. Oh Allah, for the sake of the ulama and the shuhada, especially those who have contributed and attended this majlis tonight and sponsored each night. Brothers and sisters, tomorrow is our last night. I encourage you all, try to make it. We will remember the tragedy of Imam Zainul Abideen, and inshallah ta'ala you will be remembered. But let us remember those now with a surah al-Mubarakat al-Fatiha. But before it, the loudest of your salawat.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
O Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham, please come and help your Zainab. O Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham, please come and help your Zainab. Oh Baba Ali, do you know what we went through from the bazaars of Kufa and Sham? Oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham, please come and help your Zainab. Abbas was my savior, now who shall I call for? Sleeping by the Euphrates, while Sakina still thirsty. Oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham, please come and help your Zainab. The tent had been burned while I saved the Imamat. Abbas and Hussein now see Zainab's trial. Oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham, please come and help your Zainab. We went from Karbala and made it to Kufa as we were abused, tied in chains all throughout. Oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham. Please come and help your Zainab. The bazaars of Kufa had envy for the daughters. They threw boiling water. Oh Hussein, come and see. Oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham. Please come and help your Zainab. The head of Al-Akbar was noticed by the most, hoping the mother died, but Layla was right there. Oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham. Please come and help your Zainab. Mukhtar could not bear them being taken in chains. The people would just stare. The daughters don't have quilt. So Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham. Please come and help your Zainab. Rabab had 2 children, Karbala's one infant. Another had been tortured until death in Asham, Asham, Asham. Oh, Asham, oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham. Please come and help your Zainab. Zainab had 2 children. After all was the mother. She came back to Medina and we'd for on Mohammed, oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham. Please come and help your Zainab, oh Baba Ali, from Kufa to Sham. Please come and help your Zainab. Please come and help your Zainab. Please come and help your Zainab. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
زيارة رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة من خلق الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا إمام المتقين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاتي يا سيدة فاطمة الزهراء، سيدة النساء العالمين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا محمد الحسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله الحسين الشهيد. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين عليه السلام، علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، ومحمد بن علي الباقر، وجعفر بن محمد الصادق، وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم، وعلي بن موسى الرضا، ومحمد بن علي الجواد، وعلي بن محمد الهادي، والحسن بن علي العسكري، والحجة ابن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي يا صاحب العصر والأمر والزمان، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، وجعلنا الله من أنصارك وأعوانك والمستشهدين بين يديك. السلام عليكم أهل البيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Just a quick announcement. Tomorrow, after the Majlis, we'll have a quick Q&A with Said. So if you want to stay after, ask your questions. We'll send out another slider as well, but in person questions will be preferred. Thanks.